everybody, welcome to another lesson of beginners Cricut course with Ninja Jab at Ninja Jab Crafts / Cricut Maker Crafts. And as promised, today we'll be looking at all the Cricut mats, blades, and tools. Let's get started! So Cricut has 4 different types of mats, and I have laid them all out for you over here. And as you can see, there are 4 different colors of these mats, and each mat serves a different purpose. And by the way, excuse all the messy stuff on my mats. I use my mats pretty heavily, and these are the mats that I first bought. I haven't purchased any mats since then. It's been like 1 year since I got my machine. So yeah, I use them pretty heavily, so they are almost always like this. All right, let's get started. So these mats come in 2 different sizes. So the one over here, all of these are 12 by 24 inch. And the one over here is the 12 by 12 inch. So these are the only 2 sizes which actually work with this machine. If you find any other size mat in craft stores and stuff, they're not gonna work with the machine. So these are the only 2 these are the only 2 mats that you need to buy if you want to use them with Cricut. And these work with both Cricut Explorer and Cricut Maker. Alright, so the first one over here is the light grip mat. This is the blue one that I'm talking about over here. So this is pretty good for medium weight cardstock, something which is like 160 GSM. And you can also use it for vinyl. It's perfect for vinyl, vellum, and copy paper. So if you're working with any of these stuff, you can use this mat. That said, I've also used this mat for much heavyweight stuff because this was pretty new. Usually I would use the standard grip mat, but this mat lost all its stickiness, so I ended up using the light grip mat, which worked out pretty fine as well. But I won't recommend this because it's not recommended by the company, so if you want to do it at your own risk. That was all about the light grip blue mat. Now let's have a look at the pink mat. So this is the pink fabric grip mat, and it's specifically for fabric, and I haven't used it for anything else because I'm very sensitive about my fabric, so I don't want to mess them up. So I haven't used these mats for anything other than fabric. So you can use all kinds of fabric on this: denim, velvet, tulle, chiffon, everything will stick on this mat. However, if you're working with leather, you're going to use the strong grip mat, the purple one. So that was all about the pink fabric grip mat. Let's move it aside. Next we have here is the green standard grip mat. This is perfect for all kind of cardstock, poster paper, any thicker material, which is not extremely thick, but it's thicker than paper. So I use this and a combination of light grip mat together to cut out multiple stuff at one time. Now let's have a look at the strong grip mat. This is one of my least favorite mat because quality of the mat is not as good as it should be. After doing only a few projects, it lost all its stickiness, and even after washing it using the dishwashing liquid, the stickiness is not strong enough. So this is like I have like a love-hate relationship with this mat, and sometimes when I'm really frustrated, I just toss this mat away and instead use the other mats which are stickier because I haven't used them much. And I've also used this mat to cut out cardstock as well. So yeah, I pretty much all the time use these mats interchangeably, except for the fabric grip mats. That's something I keep entirely for fabric, just like my fabric scissors and fabric rotary blade. Alright, so that was all about the mats. Now let me show you a little trick on how to quickly clean your mats. So here we have a really dirty mat. I'm just gonna remove the... One more tip I wanted to share is always keep your matte plastic on so that it does not catch dust. So that dust and other stuff don't stick to your mat and cause it to lose its stickiness. Alright, so let's give this mat a little cleanup. So remove the plastic, keep it aside, and this is the scraper tool. We're going to talk about this in a while. So all you got to do is use this. So this way you can get rid of all the major thick cardstock stuff that's stuck to your mat, and for the rest of the stuff you can use your tweezer or your weeder tool. One more thing to keep in mind when working with your mat is try not to touch the mat with your finger, because the stuff on our fingers can easily ruin the stickiness of the mat. So make sure you never put your fingers and sleeves and stuff like that on top of your mat to make the mat long lasting. Now, as promised, we're gonna have a look at all the different essential Cricut tools. So the first one we have over here is the spatula.
This is by far the most important tool you'll be needing for crafting with your Cricut. The spatula allows you to easily lift cuts from the mat without tearing them apart. If you do a lot of paper crafting, you're going to use this tool a lot, just like I do. The thin surface of the spatula is perfect to slide under the paper and lift it away from the mat. I also use the spatula to scrape off useless bits and pieces from my mat.
The next thing we have over here is the scoring stylus. This is probably my most favorite tool. You can use this to add score lines to 3D objects or cards. This can be used with both the Cricut Maker as well as the Cricut Explorer. So if you're using the Cricut Explorer, you're going to use this to add the score lines. However, if you're using the Cricut Maker, you can also use the scoring wheel, which is 10 times much better than the scoring stylus. The score lines that come out using the scoring wheels are much better than when you use the scoring stylus. But the thing is that the scoring wheel can only be used with the Maker. Next, we have the Cricut scissors. I love these scissors because of this sharp edge they have. These are really helpful in getting into the small corners which are not cut out properly. Next, we have the weeder tool. So this is great for getting rid of all the negative cuts on vinyl or any other project.
I also use the weeder tool to lift the delicate paper cuts off the mat when I don't want to use the spatula. If you purchase the weeding toolkit, you'll find a hooked weeder tool. Some people swear by the hooked weeder tool. However, I haven't tried it myself yet, but if you're planning to do a lot of vinyl projects, you should definitely give it a try to see which one works best for you.
Next, we have the tweezer. I don't really use it much because I find it really awkward and I'm still not used to it. If I do need to use a tweezer, I just use the normal ones. Here we have the Cricut fabric marker to add marks on your fabric when you're working on a project which involves a fabric. Next, we have a very basic Cricut pen. This is what you get in your Cricut Maker box, like I showed you guys earlier. All the pens as well as the stylus comes with this little triangle which acts as a mark when you are inserting it into a clamp. Lastly, we have the scraper tool, and I showed you guys how to use it. Basically, it's used to scrape off all the gunk from your mat. It has a really thin edge, which is perfect for this job. Alright, so that was it all about the Cricut tool. Now we're going to have a look at all the different blades. So I'm kind of poor when it comes to blade because I only have 3 of those, and these are the ones that I mostly use, and probably you're also going to need only these many or maybe lesser if depending on what you're working. So these two blades are the ones that I got with my Cricut. This is the premium fine point blade, which now comes in gold. Mine is silver, as you can see. And this is the rotary blade, which also comes with your Cricut maker, especially, and is made especially for fabric and crepe paper. So the premium fine point blade is something that I work with for most of my projects. It's a very versatile blade. It's used for cutting cardstock, for cutting vinyl, and anything vellum. Literally most of the work is done by this premium fine point blade. So the top part of the blade is called the blade housing, and inside the housing you will find this tiny little blade. So if you press this nozzle down from here, from the top, and pull the blade out, holding it with your finger and your thumb, you'll be able to pull the blade out like this. So I'd like to share a little tip over here. Since this blade is used for cutting out most of the stuff, it's best to keep a different blade for different stuff. Like I would keep one particular blade, not the housing, just the blade for the paper, one blade for vinyl, and one blade for doing intricate cuts. Because when you use this blade with paper, the paper tends to make the blade dull, which is going to affect your project when you're working with a softer material like vinyl or anything else. So to get the best result and to keep your blades long lasting, it's best to keep a different blade for a different material. Now let me just push it back inside. So all you gotta do is place it in and lightly push it backwards so that it gets attached to the magnet inside. Next, we have the rotary blade. Like I mentioned earlier, this is a very special blade and it comes only with the Cricut maker, and this was a game changer as it made cutting fabric way easier than it was when using the Explorer Air. So with the launch of the rotary blade, now you can cut literally any fabric you like, such as tulle, denim, chiffon, literally anything you can think of using this rotary blade. And as in normal life, you won't use your fabric scissors to cut out paper, you don't use your rotary blade to cut out anything except your fabric. The last one over here is the knife blade, which is designed especially to cut out really thick materials like cardboard, chipboard. So this is what it looks like from the back. This is something I rarely use because I rarely work on projects with thicker materials. And this is the blade I use to make this sign at the back.
The next blade over here is the deep point blade, which might seem quite similar to the premium fine point blade. As a beginner, I used to get extremely confused between the two. However, they have a major difference between them. The deep point blade is made of a harder, more durable steel with a steeper angle of 60 degrees, which makes it extremely sturdy to work with. It is used to perform intricate cuts on thicker materials like a magnet, chipboard, stamp material, thick cardstock, stiffened felt, foam sheets, cardboard, and some fabrics. Remember, it's not for ordinary cuts. It's for intricate cuts on thick materials. It's black in color and can be used with both the Maker and the Explorer machines. Also, this blade cannot be interchanged with other blades housing. The next one over here is the bonded fabric blade. It is designed just to cut fabrics. The idea behind this blade is to have something solely for the fabrics, just like you wouldn't use your fabric scissors for cutting paper and other stuff. One thing to note is to use this blade, you need to first fuse your fabric to the interfacing. This blade comes in pink color to match the fabric grip mat and can be housed in both the bonded fabric blade and the premium fine point blade housing. This means you don't have to purchase the pink housing for this blade. You can just use the premium fine point blade housing. The bonded fabric blade can be used with both the Cricut Maker and the Explore machines. However, if you're using the Cricut Maker, you can just use the rotary blade instead of the bonded fabric blade. The bonded fabric blade was released before the Cricut Maker was launched to cut out fabric using the Explore Air. So I hope you guys don't get confused. So if you already have a maker, you already have a rotary blade, you don't need a bonded fabric blade. Now let's talk about the scoring wheel. The Cricut scoring wheel is perfect for crafters who do loads of paper crafting and card making. It's designed to apply 10 times more pressure compared to the scoring stylus. The scoring wheel only works with the Cricut Maker.
Alright, that is it. We have reached the end of the video where we talked all about the mats, tools, and Cricut blades. If you have any questions, be sure to pop up in our Facebook group and ask them away. Don't be shy at all about it. No question is a wrong question. It's a very open, very welcoming group. So be sure to pop up and get your questions answered. Alright, so that is it. Stay tuned for the next video where I'll be showing you everything about the Design Space software. Bye bye, see you later.